Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, here to take a look at some potential surprise roster cuts. Every year, people want to know, hey, who's the next Dan Bailey? Well, today, we're tailing at some of those names. As a reminder, I don't think any of these guys actually get cut. That's what makes them a surprise roster cut candidate. First up here is Keanu Neal, the linebacker who was once a safety under Dan Quinn. He's making the position change, although I'll make note, as I have many a time before, the difference between a strong safety and mostly the weak side linebacker isn't really all that noteworthy, especially as it relates to coverage responsibilities. Here's the problem. Keanu Neal has not had the best performance so far in coverage at camp. That is a bit of a red flag. Now, despite having all those heavy ties to Dan Quinn, there are some potential savings here if the Cowboys were to cut Keanu Neal. Now, they structured his contract with some fake years on the back end, but they would save $1 million off his $2 million cap hit this year if they were to cut Neal before the season begins. Now, the last time we saw him for the Falcons, Neal was very productive as it relates to the on-field statistics. 100 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, plus interception and 2 pass breakups. That's really good production. And the reason why I'm including Neal as a surprise side is I think he ends up being linebacker 4 at worst for this team, unless I end up being surprised, right? Micah Parsons, Jalen Smith can handle the strong side middle linebacker roles. I think Leighton Vander Esch can play some middle too, but I think it's LVE and Keanu Neal with most likely a redshirt year for Jabril Cox in that weak side linebacker position. So I'm not advocating to cut Keanu Neal. I think his familiarity with the Dan Quinn scheme, his impact as kind of a hybrid safety linebacker who will mostly be a linebacker, I think is a good fit for the Dallas Cowboys. But I think he is a name to at least keep an eye out if the camp struggles continue or he's bad in the preseason and beyond. So what do you guys think? I'm asking you to name a surprise Cowboys roster cut for me in the comments section. Not someone like a Darian Thompson, rather a big name who you think could get cut. Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. Back-to-back Dan Quinn players here. Damontae Kazee. Now, he's just coming off a torn Achilles, which is a red flag, but he was cleared in OTAs and minicamp. I had thought, hey, that means he's good to go. He's back. He's going to be a key part of this Dallas Cowboys defense. He will start. I do think the addition of Malik Hooker was at least an indication the Cowboys aren't sold on their safety room, which they never should have been. There are, of course, ties here to Dan Quinn, but my deep down concern, and I don't know if we're there yet, we're not there yet, is that what if Damontae Kazee is just Clinton Dix 2.0? The notable name at free agent, plays safety, comes in, he's going to start, and then he ends up being a surprise cut. You're not going to get 2018 Damontae Kazee. I promise you. There's just no way he's going to put up 7 interceptions and 10 pass breakups. I would love to be wrong. Make no mistake about that one. But I think that's an unrealistic expectation. I think Kazee is in line right now to still be the number 2 safety on this roster behind Donovan Wilson and over Malik Hooker, who maybe we'll talk about more in the future here. My concern in the end is what things end up looking like if Kazee isn't the same guy coming off that torn Achilles. If he's not a full go, if he's not 100% back, there's a lot of savings here. $850K. The Cowboys did not guarantee him really any money. That is a big deal to me. That at least gives the Cowboys the option here to move on from him if they don't think he's the right guy anymore at the safety position. And if you guys want to place some bets on the Cowboys throughout the preseason, do it with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code you see on screen. That is Cowboys125. You know what I'd bet on? How about the Cowboys to beat the Cardinals in week 1 of the preseason? I'm a big believer in betting on the backup quarterbacks. Who's better? Look, the Cardinals are also pretty bad at the backup quarterback position. I actually think the Cowboys have a chance to win this one. It's the preseason. It's not that impactful. That's why the over-under is so low for an NFL game. It'll be ugly. It'll be sloppy, but have some fun. Give yourself an extra reason to watch beyond watching the third stringers, make a bunch of turnovers out there. Go bet on the game with our sportsbook partner, chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code Cowboys125 to get yourself a 125% deposit bonus. Malik Hooker is next up here, the other notable free agent addition at safety, not named Jerron Kearse. That feels like cheating as a not too surprising roster cut option. Hooker was added early in training camp, and there's no doubting his talent. The things that Hooker is able to do is very impressive, but the injuries have been a problem for Malik Hooker. What intrigues me the most about this pickup were the contract details. His cap hit is basically identical to Damontae Kazee. His cap savings, though, are a little bit different. Only $430,000 if he is cut. The Cowboys guaranteed Malik Hooker more than they did for Damontae Kazee if over the cap's numbers are indeed correct, which I'm sure that they are, which is intriguing. If the medical is still an issue, if he's slow to recover from that injury or doesn't pick up the defense fast enough, whatever, the Cowboys are in a position where they're able to move on if they want to. I had wanted Malik Hooker before the Cowboys added Damontae Kazee. That was my preferred option. I think the medical at the time didn't quite come back in the way the Cowboys were hoping for, but when camp got underway, the safety depth chart was just a problem. There were major issues there. But that doesn't mean either of these guys is truly locked into the roster with the way their contract is set up. So pick one to start for me. Who do you want out there week one and all likelihood alongside Donovan Wilson? Type in K for Damontae Kazee or H for Malik Hooker. Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. The next Dan Bailey, maybe it's the current kicker, Greg Zuerlien. We haven't talked about him because he's been banged up at camp, but I think it is important to at least raise this as a possibility. Greg Zuerlien is recovering from off-season back surgery. That is actually kind of a red flag if you are a kicker, because that's kind of important to your job. Now, the Cowboys don't really have another one on the roster. Hunter Nicewander has been handling those duties right now. But if he's not 100% healthy, Greg Zuerlien isn't, the Cowboys can save $2.5 million of his $2.83 million cap hit for the 2021 season. If he's not right medically, this is an option for Dallas. Now, of course, he's John Fossil's guy, which makes me think they're not going to move on from him quite that quickly, but it's not like he was an elite kicker either last year. He's got the strong leg. Fossil loves him. Again, it would be a surprise, but if you're looking for the next Dan Bailey, look at the kicker. There's money to be saved. Do we know how much Stephen Jones loves to go cheap at that in general? So I think Zuerlein is maybe a name to keep an eye out for as we get closer to roster cuts. Now, the NFL is doing things differently this year. There's a staggering of roster cuts. They trim it down each week after the preseason. So we'll keep you guys covered. We'll let you know who gets cut, who might get cut, and, of course, break down everything around the Cowboys in the offseason, the preseason, and, of course, in the regular season as well. So if you want consistent updates on everything going on around the Dallas Cowboys, hit that big red button and join us right now. My second last surprise roster here, I almost forgot a name, Cedrick Wilson. Now, I think he ends up being wide receiver 4. But again, the Cowboys love to go cheap if they can. They cut Antoine Woods when I kind of think they shouldn't have, as long ago as that seems. But Stephen Jones loves to be cheap. He loves to save money. And there's a lot of money to be saved if they were to dump Cedrick Wilson. His $2.18 million cap hit could all be saved with a release. Now, maybe you could even cut him and bring him back on a cheaper contract, which could certainly be an option, although I doubt Wilson would like that one too much. It's a matter of how much do you want to pay for the guy who is going to get you maybe 20 catches. Wilson's not going to usurp a healthy Amari Cooper, a healthy Michael Gallup, a healthy CeeDee Lamb anytime soon. In fact, other receivers, Noah Brown, Simi Fehoko, Malik Turner, Osiris Mitchell maybe as one of the UDFAs. They could all emerge as camp and preseason move along and justify the Cowboys being able to go cheaper at the backup wide receiver spot. In fact, they might only carry 5 receivers. I think it's 6. Maybe Malik Turner's one of those 6. But I think the Cowboys go a little bit lighter could go lighter at the receiver spot. So if that's the case, which one of these guys are you cutting? Is it Cedrick Wilson? If so, type in W. Simi Fehoko? Type in F. Or is it Noah Brown? I think Brown and Fehoko are too much obvious names to include on this list. I think it's Brown, though. Type in B. Get your votes in the comment section right now. Finally, C.J. Goodwin. I want him to make this team. He was a core special teamer last year and very good at that role. But there is the possibility here with the emergence of late of Maurice Kennedy that the Cowboys go deeper at the cornerback spot. And I think Goodwin in the end, especially every time I go through a roster projection, he's one of the last names I end up putting on my roster. Because you can save $1.2 million if you cut him, and if somebody else emerges on special teams, the Cowboys might go younger and more potential upside at corner. Again, Trevon Diggs, Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis, Kelvin Joseph, Nashawn Wright. Barring a trade, namely for of Anthony Brown, those 5 guys are making your roster. That leaves Maurice Kennedy, Reggie Robinson, and then C.J. Goodwin. I don't think the Cowboys will carry all of those guys. I think somebody is getting cut or traded. It could be Goodwin, because it's not going to be right. If they want to go young with Robinson, go more defensive impact as it relates to Kennedy, then maybe Goodwin ends up being the odd man out. Again, this is a surprise roster cut. I don't want to go this route. I don't think the Cowboys would go this route. With $1.2 million savings, even as important as special teams is right now for this Cowboys team, if they think they can get equal or close to equal special teams play out of a Maurice Kennedy, then Goodwin might end up being on the roster cutting block come 53-man roster decision time.